The Fed can engage in either expansionary monetary policy, where they attempt to grow the size of the economy and increase aggregate demand, or contractionary monetary policy, where they try to shrink aggregate demand and reduce the size of the economy, usually in an effort to control inflation. Expansionary policy involves increasing the money supply. In other words, printing more money, making more money available for consumers to use. Or contractionary monetary policy, where they reduce the size of the money supply, which lowers aggregate demand, shifts the aggregate demand curve to the left. So how does monetary policy work? It works primarily through interest rates. We talked about the interest rate effect on the aggregate demand curve and the link between interest rates and how much people want to purchase. If interest rates are low, then I'm more willing to borrow money to go out and buy cars or houses, and businesses are willing to spend more money on investment, to take out new loans when interest rates are low. Now, interest rate is determined by the intersection of money supply and money demand. And money supply is fixed by the Fed. The Fed determines how much money exists in the economy. Money demand depends on three things. One is how much income consumers have. As incomes rise, we want to carry more money around in our pockets to perform transactions. We're doing more things, we're buying more things when our income is high, so we keep more money in our pocket. P, prices. As prices rise, we also want to keep more money in our pockets because it essentially doesn't go as far. So to buy the same number of things when prices are high versus when prices are low, we need to keep more money in our pockets when they're high. So as price rises, we need to carry more money in our wallet. Conversely, though, as interest rates rise, we want to keep more of our money in interest-bearing accounts and keep less money in our wallet and less money in our checking and savings account that don't pay much interest. So as incomes rise, we wish to carry more money. As prices rise, we wish to carry more money. And as interest rates rise, we wish to carry less money. All of this shows this negative relationship between interest and the interest rate and money demand. These things intersect to provide us with what the prevailing interest rate in the marketplace is. Now, we note that the money supply is fixed by the Fed. The Fed determines money supply, and what we're going to do is add an extra line to the graph that says, well, what happens if the Fed engages in open market operations to increase the money supply? The interest rate we saw on the previous slide gives way in this case to a new lower interest rate, R prime, when the Fed prints more money. When interest rates fall, then we get the shift in aggregate demand that we described before. As interest rates fall, we consume more, we take out more loans to buy houses and cars, and businesses take out more loans to engage in investment. So what does this look like? In the aggregate demand and aggregate supply model, we see that the fall in R increases the demand for goods and services, which shifts the aggregate demand curve to the right. When R goes down, due to the Fed printing money as we saw in the previous slide, the aggregate demand curve shifts to the right, which drives up output for a short time to Y prime. We get an increase in output in the short run. But in the long run, what we see is that prices will adjust and return us back to the long-run aggregate supply curve, remember, which is determined by real variables, at a higher price level. So the dynamics work something like this. The Fed prints more money, interest rates fall. When interest rates fall, consumers buy more cars and houses. When they buy more cars and houses, in the short run, this pushes up output, and in the long run, it pushes up prices because we are still, as always, constrained by the level of real resources in the economy.